Hi, thank you for joining me today for day 2 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life. And today I'm scrapbooking 2 photos of me in Provincetown when my husband and I went to Boston for a week back in 2015. Just a very wet and windy photo. This sketch is by Nicole Santos and it's gorgeous. It's got strips all down either side with the 2 photos, 3x4 on the left hand side in the middle. So you can see I'm using my brayer and my Distress Oxide inks to create some strips that my papers will sit on. I've gone for, which colours did I go for? The first one I put down, the orangey brown, is tea dye. And then this pink one that I'm going in with now is Tattered Rose. And these colours have been chosen to match the Maggie Holmes Market Square collection. I think this might be the last layout that I get out of this collection now. It really is getting to the dregs, and if I'm frank, I'm getting a little bit bored of using it as well. So trying to treat myself to something new. I think I'm pretty much on a one in, one out with my collections. So I have to make a concerted effort to use one up before I can bring something else in. And with all the new lovelies coming in for this season, I really need to create some space. So anyway, as you can see, I've got some strips laid down using my brayer, and now I'm going to come in with some strips of the pattern papers, and I'm focusing on the pinks, mauves and orangey tan colours from this collection for this, plus a little bit of black and white. These colours are absolutely beautiful and they match really nicely with the hut that I'm standing in front of and my beige coat. Just something nice and neutral really. So I'm just, as you can see, cutting strips and then placing the smaller piece on the right hand side and a larger piece on the left hand side. And I'll just go through grabbing the different pieces of paper that I've pulled out in those colour tones and creating the strips. And some of them are quite small, so I'm not able to cut one strip. I'm having to cut 2 separate pieces and then trim one down for that right hand side piece. This paper that I'm cutting now is one of my favourites from this collection. It's like a mustardy orange colour with pink dots on, and I'm a sucker for dots anyway, but these colours just absolutely gorgeous. I do love the colour tones. It's a funny collection because you've got all these beautiful muted tones and then there's a really bright yellow in it as well, but they do all work beautifully together. But I've enjoyed pulling the different pieces out to create different layouts. I've done some with the blue tones and quite a few with these pinky mustardy type colours, almost like a tea, I suppose, that orangey colour. So just finishing off with these strips, and then I'm going to go through each of them and I will distress the edges, just the long edges. I won't bother with the short edges, one because the left hand side will butt up or the right hand side against the edge of the paper, and also I really like the look of that, having the distress on the top and bottom but not on the sides. So I think this is the last piece now that I'm adding down, and then as I say I can start distressing them all. Just checking, I wasn't happy that one was so much bigger than the other piece on this one, so I'm just trimming that down so that they match more. They didn't have to be exactly the same, but it did look a little bit odd to my eye, that piece. So here I am now with my Tim Holtz edge distresser, and as I say, I'm just going to distress the top and bottom of each of the pieces. And I think, yes I do, I glue them down as I go, so I'm just running some wet glue along the centre of each of the pieces so that I can ruffle up the edges slightly to create more texture on the background. So I won't make you watch all of that. Here I am at the end, just finishing off now, popping that last piece down. And now that's done, I can start focusing on the photos. So first of all, I mapped them both on a scrap piece of white cardstock. This seems to be my favourite thing to do at the moment. It really makes the photos stand apart from the background papers or the papers that I add as stacks around, I can't talk today, mats around the photos. So once those 2 are matted with that white cardstock, and they're very similar photos, the one underneath is just me holding my glasses and the other one is me just standing there. And I trimmed these down from 4x6 photos, just cutting out some of the background down to 3x4, just so that I didn't have to reprint them. I'm trying desperately to use photos that I've got printed at the moment rather than printing new ones. And now coming in with my Sticks to foam pads, the 25mm ones, just to raise those photos up, and also because I've got so much texture in the background, it helps to just adhere those photos down without making them all wrinkly. And you saw I used my wet glue to stick one photo to the other before adding the foam pads, and then the foam pads help to keep them all together. So now I'm being very brave. I'm going through the 6x12 sticker sheets and I'm adding things that don't relate to the photo. I'm really bad at only using things that are absolutely relatable to the photo. And it's a bad habit to have, because there are so many beautiful ephemera pieces that still make a photo look wonderful in your album, but don't necessarily relate. So you can see here there's a gorgeous little white goose and these houses that I'm just adding. And I am really pleased with the finished layout, so this is a note to self to try and use a few more things that aren't necessarily absolutely relevant to the photo. So just adding some foam to raise one of the houses up here and get that neatly tucked underneath, and then the goose's head will just rest on top of that. So again, just adding foam to the body of the goose. And now coming in, looking through this sticker book, and straight away I see the title that I want to use that says Smile, because I'm sort of half smiling. It was a very wet, windy day. We were down at the pier, but it was still a lovely day because I was with Ross. So just continuing to embellish around with the bits and pieces that I find in this book. So I've had a little peach camera there, and some of the florals. These are all on clear backing, but I like that because it's just adding a subtle something extra to it without being too in your face, if you like. Just having a look through to see what else, and I find the word strips, and I do love the word strips in these sticker books. So I find one that says the little things, and then another one with a row of 4 hearts, which I'll add. Now the journaling, I'm adding per this sketch onto that strip beneath my photos, and it just says a wet and windy walk in Provincetown to the pier for a little look before continuing our journey down the Cape and across to Newport. A little bit of rain wasn't going to stop us, and it really wasn't. So I'm continuing to go through this sticker book to see what else, and I find a couple of little birds that I just dot around. And then this is a little tag that just says item, but again, it's just adding a bit of detail. So I'm adding some of my wax twine to that. Again, we sell this at Hey Little Magpie if you're interested. And just adding that to that little tag there, just for another bit of detail. And gluing it down because these stickers don't have great stick. So just making sure that it stays there. Just seeing what else I can find on here. And I want to use some of these labels. This is where I add those 4 little hearts underneath that word strip that said the little things. Just keep looking through. I'm determined to use as much as I can. This is a little clear floral sticker that looks quite cute there. So I add that. And then I find this beautiful little bumblebee. So that gets added as well. Desperately looking to see what else I can add. And this is where I start adding these labels. And they just act again as a little mat behind the photos, just bringing in a bit of interest. I just use them as they are. This one I'll cut in half because it's a little bit too big, and then use the other half vertically where that one's going horizontally. I'll add it above the houses there. And that's got a lovely bit of gold foiling as well, so that's pretty on the layout. And this is a little tree that I find to add to next to that house. And a little flower. And I think that's pretty much it from that book. So just having another quick look through this sticker sheet to see if there's anything else. And I find this little yellow flower, which I add next to that title that says Smile. And then I want to bring in this Flair badge. This is a new Flair badge set that we've got at Hey Little Magpie, just black and white love sayings. And this one just says you and me. Even though Ross isn't in the photo, I know that we were there together. So I wanted to bring that in. Plus one of James's JD3DPrint wood cameras. And then I decide that I'm not happy with this bird up here, so I'm just going to move him further down onto the house, I think. Yes. Onto the roof of the house there. So just coming in with my roller date stamp to add the date, and that's pretty much the layout done. I'm going to add some enamel dots that I pull out of my deep stash. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do check the description box down below where I have the details of the lady who created the sketch, along with the playlist that Christie's provided for us all to add our videos. So if you go to that, you can just watch hours and hours of videos to your heart's content. Every day new ones are being added. So that's a great resource to have if you want some inspiration for your scrapping. Other than that, thank you so much for joining me, and I shall see you again tomorrow for day 3. Thanks again. Bye.